Hi everyone and welcome. It's Melissa from Endo Empowered, and today what I want to do is talk about cysts. What are they? Why are they happening? And some ideas and suggestions on how you can alleviate them. Unfortunately, my presentation thingy-majig is not working today, so I'm going to just explain it to you with my hands, and hopefully that is clear enough. If you have any questions, if there's anything that's not clear, feel free to send me a message either underneath this video or send me an email on melissa@endoempowered.com. Okay, so what exactly are cysts and why are they forming? So the first thing I want to say is that in a lot of cases, cysts are not something to worry about, and 70% of cases cysts just dissolve on their own, and they're kind of a natural flow of the body. It's only when they get to a very large size, or if it's an endometrioma, that we tend to worry about them a little bit more. However, I want to just stipulate that your body put it there, so your body can unput it there. That is my personal belief. And I don't believe that you need to go for surgery as your first option. I think we should explore some other options first, see if we can dissolve it naturally, get your body to naturally clean that area up. And then if that fails, then of course you can still opt for the surgery. Surgery is not something to be taken lightly, and not something I recommend as we'll just go for surgery, because it has got a lot of consequences on your health long term. So, diving into cysts and what are they? So we've got, basically, if you think about a cyst, it's a little pocket, and that little pocket is sitting generally on the outside of the ovary, and it's something that I believe is like a way that your body can encapsulate things that it doesn't want. So it's kind of like your waste, if you think about a bin, it's kind of like a little place where your body can just put all the stuff that it doesn't necessarily want, and then it can deal with it later. Now, in Chinese medicine, they describe endometriosis and anything like that as a stagnation. So I want you to kind of visualize this idea of stagnation, and typically how we spend a lot of our time. So a lot of the time we spend sitting, and if you imagine yourself sitting, you're creating this little puddle essentially in the abdominal area. And that little puddle is potentially just, all the blood kind of flowing in that area and not really allowing sufficient movement to the area. So when this happens, it's kind of like, if you imagine a river and there is this puddle of water, it's just kind of, the water's slightly moving, but on the outside of it, there's just kind of gunk that starts to form. It's a little bit sludgy. It's maybe not as clear and clean as we would like. And this is kind of the image that I guess I want you to think about when you think of your abdominal area. And what we want to do is basically encourage more of the natural flow through that area. So obviously moving your body a lot more, but focusing on that abdominal area and creating blood flow towards that area. So there's kind of two areas to focus on here. And I guess the simplistic way of explaining the body, like if you imagine blood flow is kind of your highway, and that's where you deliver all the nutrients to the area. So everything that you're eating, everything that you're doing in terms of your health needs to get delivered to that area. And that's how you get those nutrients to those, areas, is to incorporate more blood flow to the area. The other side of it is your waste removal from the area. So, making sure that rubbish, or the waste master, or whatever you want to call it, is doing its job and taking away the gunk or the rubbish that your body doesn't want. And this is often an area that, people don't think about, but we need to encourage that flow of natural things to happen. Now, when you don't have the waste removal, this is where you get that stagnation, the cysts building up. This is often, indicated with dark blood, that you might get spotting. dark blood is really an indication that blood's been sitting in your body for a longer period of time. Like if you cut yourself and you watch the blood, it gets darker over time. It's getting oxidized, it's changing color. So you want to not have that stuff that's kind of old blood. If it's coming out, obviously it's better out than in, but it indicates that there's not enough blood flow, not enough flow in that area. So these are kind of some of the indicators with what's happening with cysts. The other side of it is, of course, your hormones and your hormone imbalances. So having too much estrogen will naturally create more cysts. Polycystic ovary syndrome is not quite the same, but it's related. And also, it can also be related to thyroid imbalances. So if you've got, sort of hypothyroidism, where you've got low functioning thyroid, this can also be a trigger for cyst development. So this is really to do with, I feel, very much looking at your stress levels in your body. Why is the thyroid, struggling to operate? It's kind of like your chi or your energy level in your body, and why is that being depleted? Why is that running low? And often that relates to stress in your body and how you view things, so if you're feeling all of this feeling of overwhelm and you keep telling yourself this overwhelm, this is often related to that hypothyroidism that's going on in the body. So that's a whole nother topic, but it is something to keep in mind if you have got repeated cysts going on for yourself. Now, another thing that I just want to point out is the Mirena coil can be a trigger for more cysts growing in your body. So there's about 5% of women actually develop more cysts by being on the Mirena coil. So might be something to consider if you are on the Mirena coil and you're experiencing a lot more cysts, just something to think about. Okay, so let's think about how we now go about dissolving the cysts naturally and what's sort of going on there. Now, as you know, I believe very strongly in my REACH technique, which is essentially incorporating a holistic approach to what's going on within the body. Now, REACH is an acronym, and R is replenish, E is exercise, A is affirm, C is cleanse, and H is help. So when we take these principles and we apply them to dissolving the cysts, we first look at your foods and what you're eating and how this could be contributing or not supporting your body. So one of the key foods that you want to look at when it comes to cysts is your iodine levels. So looking at iodine in your diet. Now, a lot of us are not getting sufficient levels of iodine because, we tend to eat foods that are quite low in iodine. Foods that are high in iodine are things like fish, but particularly seaweed. So seaweeds is something that I highly encourage in my program. It is something that has the most amazing plethora of nutrients in it. And it is an easy way to increase your iodine levels, but without the risk of having too much. So yes, you can supplement with iodine, but if you're going to do that, I recommend seeing a naturopath or getting yourself tested before you explore that, because it's quite delicate and I don't know what's going on with you, so I'm not going to recommend that without you first seeing somebody and being able to determine if, you are actually low in iodine. Okay, so that's the first thing with regards to your foods. Now, you can also look at your zinc levels and your selenium levels. These are also going to be contributing factors. Once again, I'm a much bigger fan of getting these through my diet than I am through supplementation. So pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts. The Brazil nuts are fabulous for your selenium levels. You just need to eat one a day. And pumpkin seeds are very high in zinc. So really, really cool way to get those into your diet. Now, the other side of it is looking at supplementation. So with cysts, basically what you want to encourage here is that lymphatic flow. Now, I generally recommend tinctures for cysts, so specific types of tinctures that encourage that lymphatic flow in the body. And my favorite would have to be chickweed. Now, chickweed is a weed, and if you live in the UK and it's summer, which I know it's not right now, but you'll know the stuff because it grows everywhere and it's very, very easy to find. You can, of course, go out and buy some chickweed tincture and just have a few drops, not even a lot, just 3 drops 3 times a day. And you need to take that for a period of at least 3 months to get a true indication of, how things are going. Now, what the chickweed does is it encourages that lymphatic flow, which is what I was talking about earlier with that waste removal. So getting rid of the gunk essentially in your body. So that would be my first recommendation in terms of tinctures or supplementation. The other one is cleavers. So cleavers, once again, is a weed. So wild foods, my girls, this is my favorite thing, is wild foods out there. There are so many wild foods that have these amazing healing properties. Cleavers are also, I know these, you can find these in parks in London because I remember doing a walk through a park with someone who knew about all these wild foods. Cleavers literally stick to your clothing. So you can get a tincture or make a tincture out of it. Same thing, it will create that circulation in your body, and that's what we want. You then move on to the exercise portion of the reach technique. And what I encourage here is natural flow to that abdominal area. Now you can do specific yoga sessions which encourage the blood flow to that area. I'm not a big fan of doing intense kind of abdominal muscle exercise, but there are ways that you can create blood flow to that area that don't necessarily involve just, your abdominal muscles, which can actually be quite painful for women with endo and a little bit counterintuitive. So if you haven't yet, check out my yoga challenge. It's a free 30-day challenge, and it gives you all various poses and techniques on how to create blood flow to that area so that you encourage the movement, drainage, so lymphatic flow out, all the gunk out, and good blood flow in, so delivering all those nutrients, all those tinctures, all that wonderful stuff that you're adding into your body. The other side of movement is the bouncing. So this is the little mini trampoline. I love it. I highly recommend it. It naturally encourages lymphatic flow in the body, and it's very, very easy. So it's just a mini trampoline. They also called it a lymphosizer. It has lots of different names, but essentially it's a small trampoline, and you don't even need to do a lot of it. It's just 10 minutes throughout, like maybe 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes in the midday, 10 minutes in the evening. This is particularly beneficial if you have a day job where you're sitting at your desk all day. Try and see if they will let you put, your little trampoline somewhere in the office, somewhere that you can just, or even if you just pop it in your car and just take a little break and, go for a little bounce. But it's really about just breaking this stagnation situation where you're sitting all day long, you're creating that little puddle that's not really giving you a lot of movement in the area. So you want to have that, lymphatic flow. And so the little mini trampoline is fantastic for this. Obviously, any other form of exercise where you're moving your body is going to give you this, but not to the same extent as the little mini trampoline that I found anyway. So that would be my recommendation. So the yoga and the little lymphosizer for your exercise side. The other one is the abdominal massage. So this is also about creating movement in the area. Now you can go and see someone. So there's various different forms out there. There's, the Mayan massage, which personally I love. I feel like it's a very gentle, very connected form of massage, and you actually really connect with the practitioner. And it's really about tuning inward and connecting with your ovaries, connecting with your womanhood. It's a very kind of spiritual approach. And if that's not your thing, you could look into more of the pelvic therapy type of massage. That tends to be a little bit more painful in my experience. You can also do Vigo. There's like a whole range of them out there now. So I believe there's a new one that I've recently found. It's called Mirena massage. So you could try that one as well. You can, if you don't have the money for any of that, you can just check out my mind massage video on my website. So just go to endoempowered.com/Mayan, MAYAN, and you can just do that. Literally, it's 5 minutes, and you can do it in the morning, in the shower, and before you go to bed. It's just about creating circulation flow to that area, which is really what you want. So that's that. And then you can also just make up your own thing. Like, you don't even have to follow a particular process. It's really about attention to the area and blood flow. So really gently, just create little gentle movements. I usually use like geranium oil, something like that, and just create a little bit of blood flow movement in the area. Don't use a lot of pressure. You really don't need to. It's lymphatic system is quite gentle, and it's literally sits on the surface of the skin. So it's like a little very soft motions like this. It doesn't require like massively pressure or anything like that. So don't go digging in there, because it's actually not necessarily helpful. So, just really gentle, really about loving that space as well. So, yeah. Next, we move on to the affirm part of the reach technique. So affirm is really about mindset, about your beliefs, about reducing stress, all that kind of thing. Now, there's this wonderful book. It's this one here by Susan S. Weed, and she makes these really lovely kind of stories, and I don't know, it's just a beautiful book. I really encourage you to get it if you haven't got it already. But basically she talks about the cysts being really an indication of you feeling like your creativity is somehow restricted. So as women, we love to be creative, and this creative expression can be in any form. It doesn't necessarily mean like you're an artist or a drawing or anything like that. It could just mean that you create or give in some way, So for some of us, that could be looking after plants. For some of us, it could obviously be motherhood. But, I know for some of you, that's a really painful topic. And so what I encourage you to do if you're in the process of trying to get pregnant is actually use that creative energy, that creative desire, that desire to love and nurture, and place it into something. So whether that's a plant, or whether that's a beautiful home, designing something, or whether that's painting or whatever, but just take that energy that you're holding on to with that and place it into something. In the meantime, I understand that it's such a strong desire and such a driver, and often this is why women get into such a deep state of depression and feeling this hopelessness. But I really want you to take that energy of wanting to create and shift it into something. And if you're not trying to get pregnant, just explore this idea with me, because I think we stop creating, as we get older, it's kind of, that's not what adults do. It's not the done thing, or we feel like we don't have the time or whatever. But actually, it's such a huge kind of joyful experience that I think we dismiss and forget about, and maybe feel like we don't even deserve, or something along those lines. So I invite you to just explore that idea with me, see what resonates for you. And if you want to share in the comments, please do, because I'd love to have a discussion about that kind of thing. It's just really cool to kind of see the connections that we could have. One of the connections that I've found with working with clients is that where you settle with the cysts, on which ovary, which side of the body, is often an indication of some kind of restriction in a relationship with either a female or male figure. So typically on the left side tends to be related to a mother figure. It doesn't have to be your mother, but it could be somebody that is in that role of a woman. It could be a female boss. It could be, an auntie who's really dominant in your life. It could be even a female friend who's very dominant. And there's some, sort of feeling of anger or restriction or something going on with that relationship. And oftentimes that's why the cysts will settle on that side of the body, or even your pain might be on that side of the body. And on the other side, where you've got more on the right-hand side, that tends to relate more to male figures in our lives, so maybe your father figure or a boss or something along those lines. So the Affirm module that we share in the program is really, it's about exploring these things and uncovering them. It's a little bit like an onion. You just kind of uncover stuff. I don't want you to kind of analyze it too much to the point where you're stressing yourself out, but at the same time, it's really about just planting the seed and then see what comes up for you and kind of working through that. Now, there are techniques that you can use to work through this, because sometimes it can bring up a lot of stress. So like for myself, a lot of connection with my mom and, diving into that sort of side, you really need the support around that. So we do have techniques in the program to share with you how to do this quite safely, and there's kind of practitioners that you can work with. But if you kind of want to explore this side of things, this is really something I feel quite strongly about, because I think a lot of us focus so heavily on diet and supplements, and yes, we might do a little bit of walking or yoga or whatever, but that's generally where most of us stop. We kind of go, okay, I'm going to do this super duper healthy diet, and then I'm going to do this super duper, yoga, and I'm going to add some supplements, and that's kind of the limit for most of us. For me, I did get 70% of the relief that I feel by doing those things. But it was only when I explored the emotional side of things and the cleanse part, which is the next module, that's when I really shifted the endo. So when I made connections with my brother who died when I was 6, when I made connections with my dad being shot, it's all those kinds of things, and I could release the pain of those things, that I really started to notice massive shifts in how my body felt, how I dealt with stress, all that kind of stuff. So really invite you to explore those kind of things, ideas. And I know it's a little bit scary, and I know most of us are kind of like, I don't want to go there, I don't want to think about that. But really, if you really want to transform your journey with endo, you need to open that Pandora's box of things. All right, and so the next stage of the reach technique is really the cleanse portion, and this is really exploring a way deeper level of toxicities in your body, bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, all those kinds of things. Now, this is ultimately going far deeper than the surface level stuff that I've shared so far. What this does is actually look at, well, why have you got too many toxins in your body? Why is your body feeling the need to dump it in cysts, and you're getting repeated cysts going on? Why is there a hormonal imbalance? Why have you naturally got more estrogen than progesterone? And to me, this is looking at cleansing out your body, looking at the toxicity levels in your body. I have shared another video. If you haven't seen it, check out the previous video on kind of the imbalances that might be going on. Why I feel so strongly about this is because, to me, endometriosis is not about just the superficial stuff. It's not about just pain and the symptoms and hormonal imbalance. Those are symptoms. Why they're happening comes back to the toxicity levels in your body. What is triggering that? Why is your body overwhelmed? Why is your liver overwhelmed that it can't actually process all of that? Those are the questions that ultimately will shift your situation. Yes, all these tips are fabulous, and yes, they can shrink your cysts, but ultimately you need to dive deeper to really resolve the imbalances in your body that are triggering all of this. So, thank you so much for everyone that is watching. I really hope this has been helpful. I'd much prefer doing this on my presentation thing because I can draw and explain things, so hopefully it's all made sense. If it is not, feel free to ask me any questions now. Okay, Who have we got? We've got a question from Flavia asking about NAC. I do recommend NAC. It is very, very good for cysts. It is fantastic for cysts. Why it is fantastic for cysts is because NAC works on supporting your liver, and your liver is ultimately helping you detoxify. So that's why it's beneficial. However, some women do not react favorably to NAC. We have recommended it a long time ago, and we had a few women who just didn't have a positive reaction to it. I have got a free download on supplements that I will share underneath this video for you guys, and it goes through a whole range of different supplements that you can try. One of them is NAC, and there is some research study in there showing the benefits of NAC, but it also gives you the dosage recommendations. My recommendations with NAC is really to start off quite slow, just so that your body can get used to it, just so that that detoxification that can happen is not too rapid, because that's when you will feel lousy and you actually might get more severe symptoms. So, yeah, that is the question on NAC. Does anyone else have any questions that they want me to answer? Does everything make sense that I've shared with you today on cysts, how they work, some solutions, any questions by anyone? Because, yeah, I'm here now if you want to ask me anything. No, all good. Well, thank you guys for being here. I know this isn't an absolutely amazing time for everybody, so this will be up on the Facebook group. It will be up on my main page. I will also post it in the weekly newsletter for those of you who prefer to get things by email. So I look forward to getting more questions, more topics that you guys want me to talk about. I will be doing more of these, and hopefully next time my technology will work and I can draw again, because I quite like it. So thank you so much for watching, and yeah, look forward to seeing you next week. Bye!